Time for another edition of Wellness Wednesday. Usually this time occupied by Dr. Bradley Meyer of the Okoboji Wellness Clinic. But today we're going to bring in one of the success stories from Okoboji Wellness Clinic, and it's a remarkable story. Can't wait to talk to her. 𝙃𝙧𝙀 is with us today. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your story. Now,
I'm happy to.
You're not right next door to Okoboji Wellness Clinic. This was a pretty good trip for you.
Yeah, we live in southwest Iowa, so about 4 hours.
All right, so
worth it.
yeah, it turns out to be quite worth it. So let's talk a little bit about your story. Your story of, and actually you're quite young, but your story, and do you mind sharing your age?
No, not at all. I'm 33 years old.
Okay, and so your story of not feeling well actually goes all the way back to high school.
Yes. Yep. Back in high school, I was diagnosed with endometriosis about 2008, and so that began a decade-long journey on its own. We did find relief for that, and I was very, very grateful. But then back in July of 2022, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease, and that's really where my journey went downhill very quickly.
And so that's where the spiral down really began, and this got really, really bad to the very end. Both you and your husband were pretty exhausted by this all.
Yes, and we have two kids, 13 and 9, so they're definitely at the ages where I think they were pretty exhausted of it too.
Yeah, and so at the very end, you were, I believe, in the ER, and both you and your husband were like adamant, listen, there is something wrong with me, and they were pretty adamant it was in your head. Yes,
I had to go through 2 consults with psychiatric. They wanted me admitted to psychiatric inpatient. My EKG was abnormal. My MRI showed brain atrophy, but they refused to listen. They refused to run labs. I was treated very, very poorly. But we begged them to take my case and to just try to find answers. I mean, I knew something was horribly, horribly wrong. And that alone was part of the journey. That was part of the really uphill battle that made it so defeating and so hopeless.
And so somehow your husband, I believe, heard about this place called Okoboji Wellness Clinic.
Yeah, so my sister-in-law, she grew up over in that area, and her father is actually a patient of Dr. Meyer's, and they just kind of mentioned it. They knew I was in the hospital. They said, hey, might be worth a shot, and we were desperate. Everything was worth a shot. I mean, we had lined up several appointments with several different doctors throughout the United States specializing in Lyme disease, and we were ready to just do whatever it took. And I actually had my first appointment with Dr. Meyer via telehealth in the hospital. I was actually in the hospital, and I just knew I wasn't going to get any answers there, so we had already started seeking outside opinions while I was being treated in the hospital.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you end up, if I remember the story right, getting an Airbnb booked so that you could go see Dr. Meyer.
Yep, I got out of the hospital on Thursday, and we drove up on Monday, and we pulled the kids out of school for a week, and we just stayed there for an entire week, and then I went into the clinic with Dr. Meyer and his team Monday through Friday. I was there from about 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, and it changed my life.
So when you go see Dr. Meyer, number one, you can't even walk into the clinic.
Nope. I was using a wheelchair or a walker to get around at home. And my husband had to push me in a wheelchair if we would leave our house. I was in agonizing pain. I mean, I could barely even get out of bed. I could barely even roll over in the bed. I was miserable. I didn't even want to wake up, to be completely honest. And I was having seizures weekly. I had zero quality of life, to be completely honest. Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah. So you go in to see Dr. Meyer and his team in a wheelchair, and you told me before you went on with me here this morning on 15 prescription medications.
Yep. Just pretty much combating side effects from other medications. I mean, towards the end, I was on a nausea patch. I couldn't keep food down. I had to take nausea medicine on top of the patch. We were trying to prevent seizures, then medicine when I had a seizure. I mean, it was really just a lot of medicine.
A mountain of medicine. So your week begins. Take us through the week with Dr. Meyer.
Okay. So Monday, I went in and I met with him, and I immediately hopped in a hyperbaric chamber. That was the first thing we did. We did have an appointment. Like I said, we did have that consult prior to me going to the clinic, so he was well aware of everything that was going on, and we decided that the hyperbaric was absolutely necessary. And that's a remarkable tool. You guys are very, very lucky to have Dr. Meyer so close. And then we met with the functional nutritionist, Molly, there, and she just really broke down the importance of our diets and nutrition and why my body wasn't responding well with the foods that I was giving it. The education there that I received is probably the best gift I've ever been given within a medical setting. I've never been talked to about my nutrition. I've never been taught anything about, why our bodies don't work with certain foods or whatever. And the education throughout the week was really, really key to my healing process. It explained, like, this is why I have to do this. And because it is hard work. This has been a long journey, and it's been hard. It's been a complete lifestyle change. I mean, overhaul. We had to come home and clean out our pantries, and I had to kind of relearn how to cook food, but it was all worth it. But I met with biofeedback specialist, and that was the coolest thing ever. I don't know if you've done that.
I have not, but I understand your husband missed that day and is regretting missing that day because you said it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it was. I walked into our Airbnb that evening, and I said, I couldn't stop talking about it. I was like, I wish you were there. I missed it, but it was really cool. We did some red light therapy, PEMF grounding mats, the Wellness Pro there, some frequency tools. They met as a team, and they collaborated, and they really got me to a really good place, and they treated me so compassionately and with care, and the office was cozy and homey, and it was just a really great place for healing. And after 4 treatments in the hyperbaric chamber, I walked into the clinic. So Monday I was using a walker, and by Wednesday I was walking on my own in the clinic.
It's an incredible story. I told you when we began, your story's heartbreaking. Your husband talked about thousands and thousands of pages in your medical file,
yes,
all with no answers.
Mm-hmm.
You walk out of the clinic, and this almost brought tears to my eyes this morning when you told me this. You walk into that clinic taking 15 prescription medications, and I asked you how many prescription medications you're taking today, and your answer?
0.
None.
Absolutely none.
Now, you do take some supplements.
I do take some supplements. Yeah, those have been huge for my healing as well. I think, just getting my body to a place of being strong enough to continue healing was really that first month, that first laying that foundation to continue this journey. And that's what happened in Dr. Meyer's clinic. They really laid down that foundation for me to continue walking this journey. And it to not be overwhelming, as you know.
Overwhelming, I think, is an understatement. I think as you read your story, I think it's a remarkable thing that you maintained that there was some hope out there for you, because at some point you had to feel hopeless. Oh, yeah. I did. I mean, but I've learned you can't get to the hope, you can't get to the good stuff until you experience that desperation sometimes. And we were in a place of complete desperation, and yeah. Your story's just remarkable. Now, we're out of time, but in a nutshell, what they found was that from the inside out, your body was just massively inflamed.
Yes.
You had just massive inflammation, and so they used all their tools, beginning with the hyperbaric chamber, and then certainly the diet, to reduce the inflammation in your body.
Yeah. It was just kind of going haywire. Just, the electrical currents were just not matching up.
Yeah. So anyway, before I let you go, for the folks that are listening to us today, and your husband even talks about this in the note when he talks about hyperbarics and the use of the frequency and the red light chamber. He's like thinking, man, this seems a little odd to me, and he did some research though.
Oh yeah, and he still is. He's all in this. He's like this. I mean, you can't not believe it when you see where I went and how long in just a week to see, where I am and where I'm going. You can't deny the power of this.
Yeah.
These tools. You can't.
No, well, I'd say at 33 years old, wheeling into the clinic in a wheelchair, walking out, handing over 15 prescriptions, mm-hmm. and now waking up in the morning with none, I'd say that's a pretty remarkable success story.
Yeah.
All right, so on your way out the door here, what do you want to tell folks?
I want to tell them to remain hopeful, because there is hope out there. I mean, it's remarkable, and you can take control of your healing. You can do it.
Well, Kate, it's been an absolute pleasure visiting with you.
Yeah.
Finding out about your story. When I read your story, it broke my heart. But when I hear you, I think, wow, you and your family got a pretty cool life ahead of you now, feeling well.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Kate,
very excited.
All right, Kate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kate Hetzel, a major success story from the team at the Okoboji Wellness Clinic, and you can find out more at 𝙊𝙀𝙁𝑊ellnessclinic.com.